Hey, what's going on, Guardians? TBL here. And as we move ever closer to update 1.2.3 scheduled to drop next week on July 17th, we've actually learned quite a bit in advance of that patch coming out about some of the things that are going to be contained within it. Bungie community manager Dylan DMG04 has been all over Twitter issuing challenges to Guardians in the Wilds and posting patch notes ahead of schedule. Early yesterday, he hit up Guardians with this tweet. The GuardianCon charity stream is going strong and Giggs is up to bat right now. If he gets over 5k donations in the next hour, I'll release a patch note from update 1.2.3 a bit early. One random patch note. And then, after you Guardians blew past that milestone, Dylan continued things, dropping additional challenge after challenge and patch note piece after patch note piece. And in this video, we're going to be covering some of the things he talked about. So let's go ahead and dive right on into it. At the 5k goal mark, here's what he had to say. Patch note, with update 1.2.3, we'll be adjusting escalation protocol weapon reward chances to be more deterministic. What does this mean? Players will improve their chances each time they defeat the escalation protocol boss. Now what this generally means is that if you complete waves 1 to 7 and you don't get a weapon drop, your chances of getting a weapon drop are actually going to increase. And the more you complete escalation protocols wave 1 to 7, the bigger and better your chances get. This is a fantastic change. Right now, we all know drop rates are really low for some of the escalation protocol weapons. You can farm some of the bosses fairly easily if you've got a coordinated group and just kind of increase your chances that way. But for most normal groups who can't get that instance of 9 people all together and coordinated, for a lot of people who are just running escalation protocol with randoms out there, this is fantastic. If you're continually beating escalation protocol, your chances at getting the shotgun, the sniper rifle, or the submachine gun are going to improve. This is a great idea, and it's something that I think should definitely be added in for Nightfall Strike rewards as well. Alright, after that, he issued us a challenge for 6,000. And once donations reached that threshold, he had this to say. Patch note, in update 1.2.3, we're adding the ability to preview Sparrow contrails and spawn FX from the inventory. Now, spawn special effects are, of course, those little mods that you can attach to your ship. That'll change the way you spawn into public zones or like a PvP match or whatnot. So if you've ever gotten a pretty cool one to drop but you've wanted to be able to see what it looks like before you actually apply it, now you'll be able to do that when update 1.2.3 comes out. It's a great quality of life change. After that, he issued a challenge for hitting 7,777, the classic Bungie numbers. And you Guardians smashed it to pieces. Additional patch notes for Destiny 2 update 1.2.3 are as follows. Commas will be added to separate numbers within the post-game Carnage report, and they're fixing the recoil for the West of Sunfall 7 and the Trials hand cannon A Cold Sweat. This is actually a really exciting change for me. The West of Sunfall 7 is, of course, one of the prophecy weapons that you could get way back in Curse of Osiris. And while it's got pretty decent overall stats, the recoil on it is just really frustrating to deal with. It's one of those hand cannons that kind of just fires back. It was mistakenly given the wrong recoil values, and as a result it kicks up and to the right. And it's kind of weird. It kind of obscures your line of sight, makes it kind of hard for you to stay on target, especially in PvP. So I'm very happy that West of Sunfall is going to be seeing that change in next week's patch. Following that challenge, when Guardians blew past the $10,000 threshold, Dylan had this to say. When update 1.2.3 is live, the exotic catalyst for Sturm may be earned by defeating enemies on Nessus. This came as a huge surprise. Of course, Sturm right now is the only exotic weapon in the game that currently doesn't have any sort of catalyst tied to it within the Destiny database or within the live game right now. We've actually been kind of speculating on when we would be getting the exotic catalyst for Sturm. And it looks like it's going to be dropping in next week's update, which is very exciting. I'm really looking forward to seeing what changes the exotic catalyst and exotic masterwork are going to have on the Sturm. Hopefully we get a database update sometime within the next week that allows us to maybe peek behind the scenes and tell exactly what it's going to do. And thankfully the catalyst itself isn't going to be tied to something crazy like completing adventures or strikes or whatnot, since the drop rate for those, it's kinda low right now. But anyways, after that, when Guardians broke through the $11,000 threshold, here's what we got. In update 1.2.3, momentum will be removed from heroic adventures. Now, the momentum modifier, I'm sure some of you guys remember it from back before we saw the change with Nightfalls. When momentum is in effect, health and shield regeneration are modified based on player movement. If you're standing still, well, they're temporarily halted, or at least extremely slowed. you'll get a noticeable debuff called inertia, and that inertia can be removed by sprinting around. It wasn't necessarily the world's worst modifier, but it was certainly something kind of frustrating when you got into some gunfights. Maybe your shield got popped and then you couldn't back off and heal up. You had to kind of sprint around, usually risking you moving around and out of cover and taking another couple of shots. But it looks like that's going to be getting removed from adventures when update 1.2.3 goes live. After that, Guardians hit another $2,000 donation and we got this. Patch note, once all Mercury Forge weapons have been obtained, they become available for direct purchase from Brother Vance in the Lighthouse after update 1.2.3 ships. Now this is an interesting change. If you've done the Prophecy weapons, if you've gotten the Forge weapons from Curse of Osiris, you'll know that at least some of them get added to drop pools for other weapons. You can get them kind of randomly from other sources. But if you like, say, deleted West of Sunfall, which we talked about earlier in this video, and you want to try it out, you would have been completely out of luck, so thankfully this stuff is being added to Brother Vance's inventory in next week's patch, so you can go and make that direct purchase. Great change. But that is not where things stop. We had one more big final second $3,000 donation that prompted this post. Final patch note. After Destiny update 1.2.3 ships, Iron Banner events will use Iron Temple fire pits as capture zones instead of control flags. Now this doesn't apply to the current Iron Banner that's going on right now. It'll apply to the one after update 1.2.3 goes live. Now this change is definitely something I can get on board with. It's not really going to functionally change anything about control. It's just going to be a aesthetic difference. If you can remember back in the Iron Temple in Rise of Iron in Destiny 1, we had that awesome fire pit there. That is what I assume they're going to be replacing the control flags with. Which is really just an awesome change. I love how they're kind of leaning into the overall thematic elements of Iron Banner. We'll also have some additional Iron Banner changes coming in the future, but we'll be learning about those at a later date. But for right now, that is all we've got, Guardians, and to be honest, there's a lot of really interesting stuff there. It's really neat that we got to get a sneak peek of the 1.2.3 patch notes a little bit ahead of schedule. Some of the biggest bits of information here is, of course, that the Sturm catalyst is going to be added in next week's patch. We've got the big change coming to Iron Banner, the recoil changes for West of Sunfall, some really interesting stuff in here. And I certainly cannot wait to learn more. Hopefully we'll be getting those patch notes later this week. But alright, Guardians, that is it for this one, and those are my thoughts on the things that were announced yesterday alongside the GuardianCon livestream. Be sure to leave me your thoughts down in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest stuff we're putting out. But that is going to be it for this one, Guardians. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.